All right. Hi, Tim Santoni here. Today on the Santoni Spotlight, we had the pleasure of interviewing Garry Johnson of J2 Marketing. Garry, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
Maybe start off, tell us a little about you and your company and what is it you do for your clients.
So J2 Marketing is a consulting firm. What we do is we help attorneys to build their book of business. And the way that we do that is by building strategies with them. But what makes us different is we also help them implement the strategies. So we take it a step further and we hold them accountable to doing the things that they said that they were going to do to actually build revenue. I mean, attorneys are like a lot of people that are in professional services. They don't want to do the marketing, mainly because marketing doesn't make you money. And closing a deal actually makes you money. But marketing to get that doesn't make you it. And so what they would rather do is bill because they make money off that. Well, it's me holding them accountable to doing the things that are going to be effective for them and profitable.
Gotcha. So the whole cycle.
The whole cycle.
Changing the mindset of getting them out of that day-to-day billing
Yes.
grind and understanding that deal flow is super important.
Yeah. We actually have a program that's called Mindset of a Rainmaker that shows them the different attributes that you have to have in order to become a rainmaker. So it is changing the mindset, which is good.
Awesome. So, obviously people aren't going to outwardly talk about, oh, hey buddy, my business is failing. I'm not generating revenue. I'm not rainmaking. Partner says I got to make partner here at the firm. I've got to bring in more business. Usually that's not something that's well publicized for obvious reasons. So give us, the viewers a sense of what kind of triggers and what happens, what goes on in people's minds or in their businesses where they're like, hey, I need to reach out to someone like you or find someone like you.
Yeah.
Walk us through that.
So there's a couple of different triggers. One is when they don't know where to start. They've probably been doing this, but they just don't know where to start. And they don't know what to do. Or they're really frustrated because they are doing a bunch of marketing and it's getting them no results. I hear that a lot. Attorneys are like, I go out networking all the time and networking doesn't work. And it's not so much as the networking doesn't work, it's you're probably going to the wrong places and you're probably not doing the right things, because what most people do is, especially, and you know this being a provisors, is they do a strategy, what I call is show up and throw up. Show up to an event, they throw up all over the other individuals, and they get no business. They don't understand that there is a full process of what you do before, during, and after. And it's that after of building those relationships that's so important. And having a system and a process helps them out, and they go, wow, this is actually really easy. But you just have to have that system and process in place so that you can actually do the stuff. But the trigger is typically, I don't know where to start. I don't know what I'm doing. And a lot of firms as well will hire me for those associates that just got promoted to partner. That typically they bill. And then all of a sudden you're promoted to partner. And now we want you to go out and get business. And then they don't know, what do I do? And typically the managing partner has to teach them. And I take that off of their plate so that the managing partner has the time to do what they need to do, which is running the business, instead of teaching this either senior associate or new partner how to go out there and get business.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense, because it's almost like it's a whole new role they've stepped into. They've been really good at being an attorney and,
Yes.
and learning the practice and learning from the other partners. And now they're saying, well, now you need to be a sales, marketing, business development, rainmaker. And they're like, whoa,
Yeah.
I don't have the skills for that. You never told me about this, right?
Because they don't teach you that in law school.
Right.
And they don't teach that in most of the professional services, whether it's a CPA, financial advisors, life insurance, any of those professional services, they just don't teach you, unfortunately, which is how you get business. I mean, you can't do any of those things without having the business.
Right. You can be the best lawyer, CPA, whatever provider you are. And if you don't have the clients to offer services to, it doesn't make a whole heck of a lot of a difference, because you're sitting in your office waiting for somebody to call or email you or something.
Exactly.
So give us some historical information on Garry Johnson. Like, how did you get into this? How did you end up at this point? Did you just wake up one morning and say, hey, I'm going to help attorneys, generate more profitable clients? Like, what got you to this point?
Yeah, I just woke up. I wish it was that easy. Before this, I was with a company called American Capital Group. We actually did commercial finance and was with them for 13 years. And when I was there at the last 2 years, I actually got a coach because I wanted to start up my own business. And I wanted to do something that I was not only good at, but passionate about. And that was helping people build their business. And when I started looking at it, I went through a target market with exercise with my coach. And it's the same thing that I do with my clients, is getting a target market. And what came up was attorneys. I wanted to be an attorney when I went to school. My degree is one of the most worthless degrees ever in political science, until I decided I don't want to become an attorney. I had so many attorneys in my network. I have an interest in the law, and they need my services in such a big way. And so I decided to focus in on that for 90 days. So I'm going to do this for 90 days and see how that goes. Because you can always change target market. So many people are so fearful that, oh my God, if I pick this target market and it's not good, then I don't want to pick a target market at all. And instead, just 90 days. You can commit to something for 90 days. Well, that was 3.5 years ago, and I'm still going with the attorney. So it's working out pretty good.
Yeah, so that's awesome. So you're going that along, obviously very niche and very specific, which is great for marketing and business development purposes. And I'm sure people come to you and say, well, can you help me? I'm not an attorney or whatever else, which I'm sure is possible. But
Absolutely.
That's really great to be focused on that. So because you're kind of constantly helping people overcome obstacles, whether it's mentally or physically doing different things, and we talk about, certain strategies work, don't work. It's really not about those strategies. It's about how you're navigating those strategies, whether it's social media, LinkedIn, networking, whatever it is. Mm-hmm. So for you, what's the most gratifying thing to see your clients do? What do you enjoy the most? Like when they call you or you show up at that next meeting, give us a sense of maybe a story or a sense of, what's that moment like when, what happened?
So I start out my meetings with my clients. We start out with wins. And one of the best ones that I can remember, how can I say this without, because I have a confidentiality with my clients. So I had this client who was a corporate attorney, and he had a very niche practice. He called me up, and he was so excited because he just landed his largest client, and not even like close. It wasn't even like, oh, this one is one of, it was by far the largest one. This was a little over a year ago, and he's still a client of mine, and he still deals with that client on a monthly basis. And they're about 30 to 40% of his practice. That really invigorates me because when they're excited about it, they go, oh my gosh, this stuff works. And it works really well, and it's really not as difficult as I thought it was. I can actually do this. And getting, you had brought up a good point a few times, is getting them in the right mental frame, changing their mindset. And that's a really important aspect because, as you know, when you're doing marketing, you have to have that confidence that, one, you're giving your clients the best, but also you're changing their lives in a very positive way. And you have to have that confidence to go out there and network and get referrals and do speaking engagements, do writing engagements, all of that stuff. That confidence has to come out of that.
Right. Those uncomfortable things there's a ton of fear that comes with those things outside. So you brought up a point about, we've talked about in the past, I guess, about it being a process, right? This isn't a one-time thing like call Garry and, you're going to strike it rich and then have all these clients, right? Yeah. So when you talk about you mentioned starting off each meeting with wins. And wins could be anything, right? But how is it you're able to convey that this is a process, not an event type of situation, and what you're doing is not, you're changing behaviors and attitudes and their mindset, and it could take time. And some people I think are used to like, well, I just go to this boot camp and I should be fixed.
It's done.
Yeah. So how do you convey that? How do you explain that? How do you get them to change that? Because it's not just changing what they're doing, but it's also changing their outlook of like, hey, I'm not going to go from $1 million in revenue in one year to 10 million, but you're going to maybe progress through at different stages.
It's through the assessment. I do assessments with potential clients. And so I'll meet with somebody to see, do I get along with them?
Got it.
I have to get along with all my clients. And once we get past that, then I do an assessment to see, are there expectations of, hey, I want to get rich right now? I had a guy, and this is, it's going to sound far-fetched, but this was about a month ago. I had a coffee with a guy, got along with him great. We started to do the assessment, and I said, look, what do you want to accomplish in a year, revenue-wise? And he said, $20 million in revenue. I said, okay. So let's look at that. What was your last year? He said, $200,000. So I go, you want to go from 200 to $20 million? Yes. You're solo. Well, I have an associate. Okay. Your associate doesn't do any of the marketing? Yes. So this is what I asked him. Why do you think you can go from 200,000 to 20 million? And he goes, because your referral source that referred you over said that you can do miracles. And I said, well, that's not something that I can do. And especially because that 200,000 was his best year ever, practicing for 15 years. I told him, look, it's just not the right fit, because I was trying to get him back down to reality and saying, look, 50% increase would be great, but to 200,000 to 20 million, it's unrealistic. And he didn't want to do any of the work as well. And so I just explained it to him. This is not a good fit. There's a lot of times I actually tell no to people just because I don't want to have that false expectations with them. And when we do that, we're on the same page. Right. We can then be running in the same direction instead of fight on every aspect, right. Which is frustrating to them, is frustrating to me, and we don't work very well together. So I have to make sure that I do a correct assessment to make sure that what I can give them is what they want.
Makes a lot of sense. You got to be on the same page from the get-go. Otherwise, the strategy is not going to work, because they're not going to want to buy in and do that kind of work.
They'll be disappointed like there's no tomorrow, because they'll be like, okay, this month we didn't get in $1.5 million in 1 month.
We're off target.
Right. We're way off target.
So obviously, the example you talked about is another client referring you in. So maybe give me a sense of who refers you. What does that look like? What other marketing do you do that draws in? Obviously, it's a very sensitive, confidential type of engagement where there's an assessment. But how is it what's the best referral source, and how does that work for you in your business?
So I actually break down referrals in two different aspects. One is a true referral, and the other one's an introduction. True referral really comes from my clients, because they're the only ones who can say, Garry is awesome because this is what he did for me. That is a true referral. When somebody goes to another individual and says, Tim, you need to use J2 marketing because this is what they got from me. I got an increase in X, Y, and Z. That's a true referral. So I get those from my clients. On the other aspect, introductions are from my network. People that know my knowledge, they know what I'm capable of. They've heard from my clients, but they've never really directly worked with me. That's an introduction. And those introductions are, hey, John, this is Garry. Garry works with attorneys, yada, yada, yada. Hey, Garry, this is John. He is an attorney. But this is where they have to follow up with, here's the reason why you should meet, is because you guys could probably refer each other business. You might be able to help each other out with knowledge, and you guys are both interested in X, Y, and Z. The reason why I bring that up is because there's too many times that people will go, oh, you need to meet this person. They go, oh, this is a sale. It's like, if I introduce you to somebody, and please, anybody who is watching this, life insurance, please don't take this the wrong way, but if I introduced you to somebody in life insurance, you'd be like, I already have life insurance. Why do I need this? But if I explain the reason why and say, hey, Tim, this life insurance agent knows a lot of attorneys that could use your services, then you'd be like, okay, now I want to meet this individual. And then we're having this conversation to say, do I like you? Do you like me?
Right.
Could this be a good working relationship before any sell? Because I don't sell anybody on that kind of stuff, because it's a turnoff. It's a complete turnoff, especially for a marketing guy.
I agree somewhat. You can't be talking to and networking with professional service providers and trusted advisors with the idea that you're doing that because they're going to need your services or they know somebody. The idea is that people that are, no matter what service they're in, if they're well networked, they're very professional, they're always looking for opportunities to grow their network and interview other professionals that can use their services. Because maybe it's, like say, a marketing person that does lawyers. Okay, well, you probably know marketing people that work with insurance people and other people, right? So it might be good to connect, because maybe a direct relationship, but there's someone they can offer to someone that I know or that I care about or that I trust.
Absolutely. It's funny because, we're both improvisers, and I'm very close with almost all of the marketing people in improvisers, which people are like, oh, they're your competitors. No, they're not. They're not my competitors in a certain aspect, because we all have different personalities. We all have our different way of we do business with different individuals. And at the same time, I can learn from those individuals because they're smart, they're creative, they're great people. And if they're not, well, then I just don't hang out with them.
Right. Well, and you want to know how they are and what they do, so the event that you can feel comfortable referring someone that you can't help, and you also want to know the other. Maybe this isn't somebody that I would want to refer. So.
Exactly. Yeah, which is good. And all of my business that I have, and I can say it to a client, has been through either a referral or introduction. Every single one. And it's just being intentional and understanding why people send you referrals. Because if you don't know what's in it for them, how are you supposed to ever speak that way to them? I mean, speak into that aspect. And when you do understand and say, hey, Tim, if you refer somebody over to J2 Marketing, you're not going to get a referral fee, you're not going to get any money, but what you will get is you'll look like a total hero to the attorney, because imagine their revenue goes up dramatically. They're able to sleep at night, they're able to pay their bills, they're able to expand their practice. Who are they going to be thinking of? You.
Right.
I mean, they're going to be like, oh my God, my referral source is great. Well, how do you keep feeding that individual as much as possible, which I also teach them as well. Like, remember, so-and-so referred you over. We need to take good care of that person as much as possible.
I think that's an important thing, is that people don't realize is that you need to take care of those referral sources and treat them as if they're almost like another client, because that's really what they are.
They are.
And it goes a long way. A handwritten card, whatever, a thank you note, whatever. Mm-hmm. They appreciate that, because most people are not doing that. So it's a way to stand above and to be like, hey, oh, that Garry, he's amazing. He sent me a little box of chocolates, or he sent me a gift card, or he sent me whatever it is, or thought of me for something else that was going on. Like, because no one else is doing that. They're busy going to the next building. Next. They're not thinking and being intentional.
They're also going to, who's the next person I'm going to meet? And I tell my clients, after you have worked with somebody, 3 months after that, take your referral source out to lunch and just talk to them. How are things going? How can I help you out? Thank you again for that. Because what's going to happen is they're going to go, I know somebody else.
Yep.
And then they'll be able to refer another person and another person.
Well, and also, too, if you did a poor job, you want to know about that, too. And what happened in the interaction, you can clear up anything else so that they're not an obstacle to future referrals, because it was just an issue with that kind of misunderstanding or something. That.
Absolutely, yeah. Because they wanted a 500% or a 5,000% increase, and
revenue.
You only able to do 200,
Shame on you.
Right. How horrible are you?
All right. Well, before we wrap things up, we have a little fun lightning round. So we're going to put 30 seconds on the clock and go through some quick questions. All right. So coffee or tea?
Coffee.
Coffee. Black?
Black.
Cats or dogs?
Dogs.
Dogs. Favorite app?
Favorite app? Oh, God. Google Maps.
Google Maps. You're the fourth person that said Google Maps or Waze.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable. You don't know your way around?
No, because it allows me to circumvent around any accidents, because there's always like 4 or 5 different ways of getting somewhere. Like when I got here, I didn't take the normal route that I would have taken.
There you go. All right. And best book you read in the last 12 months?
Best book. Can I say 2?
Sure.
So one is Think and Grow Rich. I've read that book probably about 20 times. I typically will read it once or twice a year. It's a great reminder. The other one is The Experience Economy. It was just suggested and actually given to me by Ashley Bleckner. I don't know if you know Ashley. She's with RS Crum, financial advisor, and she said, this book is great. I'd love to have you read it. With all her notes in it, unbelievable book. It really talks about how an experience is within all of us and how we should perform.
Awesome. Great. Well, Garry, thanks for joining us.
Oh, thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
And we will look forward to linking up your contact information in the show notes, and encourage everyone to reach out, connect with Garry. So thanks.
Thank you very much.